we have a mysterious substance inside of ourselves and our cells that can keep us healthy. Well, for centuries, mankind has been searching what's known as the fountain of youth. But maybe that fountain is not in St. Augustine, Florida. It's right inside of us.
Every year, Americans spend billions of dollars to stay healthy and youthful. But what if the key to your best health is already inside you? Dr. Gordon Crozier is a leading physician who dealt with a weakened immune system growing up. He says by ridding the body of toxins using a powerful antioxidant called glutathione, you can live longer and feel younger. In his book, Healing One Cell at a Time, Dr. Crozier shares his personal journey from sickness to health and shows you a better way to treat and fight chronic illnesses using glutathione.
Well, please welcome to the 700 Club a longtime friend, Dr. Gordon Crozier. Doctor, good to have you with us.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Tell us about your own personal journey. You were chronically ill. What was wrong with you, and how'd you fix it?
Well, when I was in the second grade, I was bit by a tick.
Yeah?
Well, I'm almost 60 years old, so back then they didn't even know what Lyme disease was.
Okay.
But it was infected with Lyme. I was unable to read for about 4 years after being bit by that tick. And then I had chronic illness in and out throughout my life. When I was in high school, I became very ill with Crohn's disease, not knowing that Crohn's disease is actually related to a genetic thing called HLA-DRBQ, where you can't remove mycotoxins from your body. And mold toxicity is actually related with over 36 diseases. So,
well, you stop there for a minute. Mold toxicity, what causes the mold? And how do you get toxic from it?
Well, there are those of us, and it's in Leviticus chapters 13 and 14, and it talks about mold and how detrimental it is to us, and it says if you have it, get it out. Put it in a place of defilement outside of the city. So the mold is in behind the walls. Sometimes it's the gases that will affect us, not necessarily the mold spores. And so these mold spores accumulate in our body. And I believe that the Lord knew that about 40% of the population actually has that genetic glitch called HLA-DRBQ, where they can't remove these toxins from their body. Well, the interesting thing is that I have that. And so...
Have or had?
Well, I still have it, but I know how to get around that.
All right.
And so you have to know, I believe if you know what your genetics are, that's God's imprint that you have from God, that if you know your genetics, it teaches you how to live your life so you can live it healthy, prosperous, and for His glory. All right,
well, you're bit by the tick, you've got Lyme disease, then you've got this black mold spore eating you up, and then all of a sudden, here you are healthy and well. What did you do? What was the secret?
Well, it was a long haul, and I went to many, many doctors. Because I was clinical faculty at the university, I had privy to a lot of the top doctors in the United States. But nobody could really figure out what was going on. But I started doing some alternative labs, labs that aren't typically done in a lot of places. Actually, Harvard invented some of them. But I did these labs, and I figured out what was actually the cause of my illness. When I figured out what the cause was, I could begin to alleviate that by finding the symptoms, the things that would cure those.
Well, was the cause the Lyme or the black mold, or are they both?
Both.
Both?
It was a combination of both.
And so you were doing the labs, and in the lab you discovered these pathogens or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
So through that, I began to realize that my body needed glutathione. And as I began to take the glutathione, and it's the ribosine molecule, because that's what gets it into the cell, so you can create your own natural glutathione. Because just taking glutathione, it's plant-based, and we're mammals. And so we're mammalian-based. It's a different glutathione.
There is no, glutathione pill, and there's glutamate, and how do you get glutathione?
Well, glutathione, actually, we create our own natural glutathione in our body.
Okay.
After the age of 21, it begins to decline.
All right.
If you're chronically ill, like I was throughout my life, then you have devastating effects on your glutathione levels, and they'll begin to decline. As they decline, then your health goes down. Glutathione has over 250 functions in our body.
Well, what do you do to make it? Everybody wants it. It's like the fountain of youth. How do you? But you can't go to the vitamin store and buy it. What do you do to make your body create it?
Well, number one is eating properly, like you eat. You eat great.
I do.
And that's awesome. But there's also a molecule that was invented by Dr. Herbert Nagasawa, and it's called the ribosine molecule. This ribosine molecule can get inside the cell for you to create glutathione. There's the glutathione, the rate-limiting effect is cysteine. So, but cysteine, of course, is destroyed in our mouth and destroyed in our gut. It's hard to get into the body correctly. So we have lots of glutamate in our body and lots of glycine. But cysteine is the rate-limiting effect for you to create glutathione inside your cell. And you want it inside your cell because those inner components are what helps to bring health and healing to the body and cells.
And you can buy the cysteine at the health food store. You take cysteine, will that do it?
Well, it won't, because that's destroyed in the mouth and the gut. So you need something that covers up the sulfhydryl group.
This little baby is elusive. You've got to chase it down the trail. Okay.
Right. It's hard to get. It's very hard to get. But you can get it through that ribosine molecule, because that covers the cysteine and protects it and ushers its a correct molecular charge to take it inside the cell.
Is the ribosine available where you can, an average person watching this show could get ribosine?
It's very difficult to get. It's very hard to get.
You got to go to Japan and meet some guy on a mountain someplace. All right. Well, all right. But you got the glutathione somehow or other, and it did what once you got it inside of you?
Well, it began to remove the inflammation and the antioxidants and the toxins that were built up from years and years and years. So as those toxins were released, I actually got worse at first. But then as I began to be released, I began to get better again, and I began to have health and wholeness again.
Well, again, this is kind of mystical, this glutathione thing. It's kind of in the shadows. How did you know you got it?
Well, it was a long process, and actually, I was told to try this product by a friend of mine.
The Japanese. Okay.
And so when I tried that product, I noticed that there was a change. For the first time, the first part of it was for the first time in my life, I began having normal bowel movements, which is incredible to me. And then other things began to happen. And then I realized that, my neuroborreliosis, the neurological complaints and problems that I had from Lyme, began to subside, and everything began to go down.
Incredible. So you're healthy now.
Yes.
Your whole life has been given to you.
Yes, and that's what I want to bring to the church and to other people.
All right. Now, this book is called Healing One Cell at a Time. What is this saying about all this? I mean, is it focused on glutathione or a whole lot of other things?
No, it focuses on a lot of diseases. There's a Lyme chapter on Lyme disease.
All right.
There's a chapter on mold and mold diseases associated with mold. Fibromyalgia, a lot of times people don't realize things that they can do. Hormones and hormone imbalances, so it deals with a lot of different things.
This mold thing, I encountered it. We were working down there in New Orleans after Katrina, and I went into a house that had been flooded, and man, we were pulling the drywall out, and it just does terrible things. See, I had a mask, but it didn't seem to do much good. How many houses have mold in them? Are they from the houses or the environment that has the mold?
Well, usually in your homes or businesses. And I live in Florida. We have very moist climate, and so we have a lot of mold problems there, but it's everywhere. I have patients come from Arizona that have mold in their homes. So it's everywhere. You can have a leak in a pipe behind a wall. You'll develop black mold there, and it puts off these gases that are very deadly. The trichothecene mold toxin is very deadly to our body.
Well, if you got a patient, you look in certain symptoms. What symptoms do you find that says it's caused by mold?
Well, they can be varying. It can be mental fog, Alzheimer's sometimes.
Really?
Some of these things that can be reversed. Not all Alzheimer cases are mold, but some may be.
Well, how do they get rid of the mold? I mean, is it rip the drywall out and burn it, or do you spray some chemical on it to get rid of the mold?
Well, you have to go to somebody who really knows how to remediate this mold properly. And so working with the proper people is very essential for removing it correctly. You have to seal off the rest of the home. You have to make sure that it's sealed correctly, because these gases will get everywhere. They can get into your clothes, they can get into your furniture and other things. So yeah, there's an enzyme that you can use to help to destroy these things, but if it's in drywall, that drywall needs torn out and removed from your home.
Well, you mean there's a gas that the mold creates that people can breathe, and it'll permeate the entire house? I mean, it could be one closet in the attic and it goes through the whole house?
Yes. It can go everywhere in your home.
You don't
and
mean
a lot
it. I mean, there must be millions of people who have this problem.
There are a ton of people. And I see people from every state in our country with mold toxicity. And I see people from Australia, Canada.
The average doctor wouldn't diagnose this in a million years, would they? I mean,
no. It's a lot of time, I call it the unknown plague. It's the plague of America that a lot of people don't know about, that is causing so many diseases and so many problems.
We had mold in this place, and you'd come to work, and you couldn't breathe. I mean, it was literally, we had people go up into the ductwork because the air conditioning is moist, and you get mold up there.
Yeah.
Good grief, you scared us to death. Ladies and gentlemen, are you terrified of this silent killer? It's in your house, you can't see it? Goodness. There must be some meter or something you can put up and say, okay, this is mold. Is there nothing you can do to identify it?
Well, I have our home inspected twice a year because I know my genetics, so I know I can't remove it from my body. So that I have it inspected twice a year, and they have specific things that they do. They even have some infrared things that they can look behind the walls to see if there's mold behind your walls. But they measure there's a device that measures the gases, actually, so you don't have to actually measure the spores, because you can have a negative test, a false negative, by just doing spore counts.
You have managed to terrify us today, and having terrified us, you've told about an elusive thing called glutathione that you can't buy anywhere. Woo! Healing one cell at a time. Doctor, you may have helped a lot of people on this program. All right. How do they get hold of you if they want to get an expert opinion?
Well, they can go to my website, or they can go to my Facebook, or call my office.
Your website is Gordon Crozier, is that what it is?
My Facebook is Dr. Gordon Crozier.
Dr. Gordon Crozier. Well, folks, you heard it here. So if you wonder what's been going wrong with you, now you may know. It's black mold in an absence of glutathione. Doctor, God bless you.
Thank you.
Terrific.